Hi everybody, I'm Kathleen. Welcome to my kitchen. Happy World Vegan Day, November 1st. Thank you for everyone for helping animals, humans, and the planet by eating more vegan food. So today we're gonna make one of my favorite fall recipes, pumpkin pie squares from Forks Over Knives. So this is super easy. There's no oil, there's no refined sugar, there's not even any baking powder or baking soda. So let's get started. So the first thing it calls for is oat flour, and you can just make your own oat flour at home. I buy these rolled oats, organic, from the health food store. You know, everything's prepackaged now due to COVID. So instead of scooping them out of the bin, they come ready to go for you. So it calls for 1.5 cups of oat flour. Now, oat flour has a little bit of binding to it, and there's no vegan egg in this recipe. So the oat flour helps to do a little bit of that binding. So we're gonna go ahead and blend. All right, and I am gonna measure this out. Calls for 1.5 cups, and so I did a little bit more than that of the dried oats. Now, of course, you can buy oat flour already made from Bob's Red Mill, and you can also substitute a gluten-free flour blend. It might not turn out exactly the same, but I have tried it and it was definitely worked. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Let's see if we got enough. I usually end up with a little extra and put it in a Tupperware for next time. I've already made this recipe twice this fall, and it's only the beginning of November. It's really good. It's actually really good if you're not a pumpkin pie person. I wasn't as a child. I am now. Okay, so we have some extra. So you could probably just do 1.5 cups oats to get that amount of flour. Let me grab a Tupperware because I do want to save it. And then we're gonna add in 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Now you can make your own. I'll put a link to the recipe, but it's super easy to find, pumpkin pie spice. Okay, and those are the only 2 dry ingredients, amazingly enough. So let me save my oat flour here. And this is a Vitamix, which definitely does an incredible job in blending things. So just keep blending, whatever blender you have, until it gets to this flour consistency. Okay, now we're gonna move on to our wet ingredients. So it calls for 1/2 cup of plant milk. So I just make my own I use about 5 cashews. And you can just do whatever store-bought plant milk you like, and then 1/2 cup of filtered water. And when we blend everything together, that will be our plant milk. So that's pretty easy. And then organic pumpkin. This is from Trader Joe's. This is the best. It's $1.99. Sometimes they just fly off the shelf. So if you actually find it, grab a couple. But any pumpkin pie, excuse me, I keep saying that, sorry, pumpkin will work. Canned pumpkin. I've used very generic pumpkin and it tasted equally delicious. All right, and I do have a great pumpkin pie recipe on my channel that's about the easiest recipe ever, using basically just pumpkin and some cashews and a few other things. All right, so we've got our plant milk and the pumpkin, and we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And because we have the water in there, it'll help blend it up. And we may need a little bit more, we'll see. And we're almost done. It's truly that easy. Okay. I forgot to do one more thing, sorry, excuse me. So we have the dates. It's sweetened with dates instead of sugar. I was like, that seemed a little too easy. So these are 12 dates that I've pitted, and soaked. I actually soaked them early this morning, but just even a few hours. And then it calls for a half a cup of that water. A half a cup to 3/4. I'm gonna do a half a cup. I've done more and they did take longer to bake. So I'm gonna drain off the rest. We've gotta have our sweet, otherwise it would be very pumpkin-y. So I'll show you the dates that I love from Costco, these organic medjool dates. And dates are high in minerals, so they're very good for you. You know, if you think about it, refined sugar has 0 nutrition in it. So this actually has some sweetened nutrition. So now we're going to blend it. Plunge if needed, but I think we got it. All right, I'll give you a good shot of that. So that's our plant milk, the pumpkin pie spice, and the dates. And I will write this all out. So I'm just gonna give a little stir here to our flour, our oat flour and pumpkin pie spice. And then we'll add in our wet ingredients. These are great to take to a party. We've just been, of course, eating them at home. But I took them to a potluck over the weekend and everybody had like 2 to 3. They're really fun. And we're gonna make some frosting for them, which will make them even more fun. Try to get all of that pumpkin out of there. Okay, so we got that all out. Just gonna stir the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients. And I'm gonna preheat the oven at 375. And then you can pour it into an 8x8 dish. And it is good to use a square instead of a rectangle because I'm afraid they'll be too thin. I recommend blending your oat flour a little longer than I did, but I think it's going to taste the same. And if you'd rather use some parchment paper or lightly oil it, you can, but I've been fine without using anything. We'll smooth this out and pop it in the oven. So you're going to cook at 25 to 30 minutes. I've actually even had to go a lot longer. I think it's because I was using too much of the date water. I've had to go even 15 minutes longer. So I recommend just using the half a cup of water instead of all 3/4. And I'll put that in the notes. But you know, if you do use it all, not a big deal. Just cook it longer. Try to get as much as you can. All right, so we're gonna pop that in the oven. make our frosting. Okay, we're gonna make some frosting for these yummy pumpkin bars. So we're gonna use a half a cup of cashews. The recipe calls for macadamia nuts, and go for it if you can find them. They're a little more expensive, so I just use cashews. I soak them for a couple hours or overnight, just a half a cup. And then again, we're gonna use dates, and we're gonna just use a half a cup of the date water. These are 6 dates that I pitted. And we use that date water for a little extra sweet. Actually, that was pretty much all of it, so it's okay. So we have 6 dates with just a smidgen extra water. And then again, more vanilla. 1 teaspoon, just like you did in the bars. All right. And we'll blend these 3 together. These are raw cashews, not toasted. Get them at Costco. Make sure you have enough of the water. You might need to add a little more. So this is fun. It's so good. Just lightly sweetened with the dates. So I'm actually gonna put this in the refrigerator and let it thicken up a little bit. And when the pumpkin bars are done, you wanna pull them out and let them completely cool, and then we'll frost them. Okay, so the pumpkin pie bars are done. I let them cook for 30 minutes. But it's up to you. Do a little fork test to make sure they're done in the middle. And then I kept the cashew frosting in the refrigerator, which I'm really glad I did. I haven't been doing that in the past, and it did thicken it up quite a bit. So look at this amazingness with just the cashews, dates, and vanilla. And this is optional. You don't have to make the frosting, but since it's so easy and delicious. All right. Okay, just gonna smear it around. Yummy. Then it's just up to you how you want to serve it. Forks over knives has them cut into little squares. But you could cut it in bigger pieces like a cake. Okay. Amazing. So if you do, says Noah in the background, if you do want to cut them into the squares, what I find is easiest is to cut it in half. Sometimes cutting doesn't work out as evenly as one would hope. Then after you cut it in half, cut each of those halves into half. Then there is a better chance that they will be more evenly cut. And then you can do the same thing. And hope for the best. No matter what they look like, they taste delicious. And that's the most important thing. Yummy! Oh my gosh, who is gonna eat that? Me. Okay. All right, so thank you so much for watching Pumpkin Pie Bars from Forks Over Knives. And as always, thank you for saving animals with your food choices. Have a great week.